Joining me now is the Bellator MMA featherweight fighter who takes on prospect Aaron Pico on the Bellator 192 main card in Los Angeles on January 20th. It is Shane Kruchten back on the program. Shane, how's it going? Thank you very much for the time.
Doing well. Thanks for having me, guys.
Awesome, Shane. Now, firstly, you haven't fought in over a year. Your last fight was, of course, the New Year's Eve card for World Series of Fighting, and you had that veterans match. You got a win in that one, but that was back in 2016 at the very end of the year. Why haven't you fought since then?
My former boss and promoter, they only had, I think, 2 cards since then. Unfortunately, I didn't get on either card. I was basically sidelined, and I asked for my release this December for permission to go and find new employment, per se. My former employer, the former league I fought for, said, yeah, go ahead, you have our blessing, go ahead and go find it. So I called my manager. Within hours, I had an offer from Bellator.
Wow. Why didn't you ask for your release until last month? Because you went a whole year without fighting.
Correct. It was the prospect of that $1 million tournament that they're having,
Right.
and that's a pretty darn good reason to sit around not really doing anything. I was able, with their help, I was able to take care of some nagging injuries that had been nagging me for about 4 or 5 years. I took care of that stuff. And, I was able to really put my heart and soul into what means the most to me is jiu-jitsu. So, being able to train with the Freak Brothers and at 10th Planet San Diego, I was able to just keep doing that and keep pursuing my jiu-jitsu dreams. And then it just finally came to fruition that, the tournament probably wasn't going to start when they thought it was. And, they signed a bunch of new prospects out of Russia. And so I just said, you know what? It's time for me to move on. It was kind of a mutual parting of the ways that was very respected on both sides.
And it's funny that you just said you didn't really think the tournament would start when it was supposed to, which was January of 2018, and you ended up being right. Because last we heard a week or so ago, they're not planning to kick things off until June.
I've been told June 7th, which is actually my birthday, by a few guys that are in the tournament, and they're. A few different sources, and they've told me June 7th, and they're like, oh man, now we're on the shelf now until June 7th, and I'm like, whew, wow, there's no way I could have done 18 months on the sidelines. I wish them the best of luck and wish them, success in the tournament, but unfortunately, I'm in the hurt game, and the hurt game doesn't wait up for you.
So this wasn't a case where you didn't make the quote-unquote cut for the PFL tournament. You didn't want any part of it.
Yeah, it just came to the agreement that, hey, we signed all these prospects. We don't know, the final. They didn't even know the final list yet. It wasn't a guarantee list. They just said, hey, there's 12 guys. There's 35 guys in your division. And I was like, I'm not going to take my chances. I'm all about, risk taking in life, but that's, 1 out of 3 chance to get in. And there's some big names that are there. And I'm not one of those guys. I'm not a Lance Palmer. I'm not an Andre Harrison, and I get that, but at the same time, I'm a gamer, and I think they realize that, but at the same time, I just kind of chose to, bow out and, pursue other things. And, I was willing to, take a fight wherever and however I could get it. And one came to the table really fast.
Did Ray Cefa or anyone else from WSOF/PFL explain to you why you didn't get on one of their, 2 or 3 cards I think they had in 2017? Of course, a very down year for them, but they couldn't, I guess, according to you, they just couldn't find the room, but did they explain why that was the case?
There's a lot of guys on the roster, and they were building up, and, out of all respect for them, they were building up for the for this big tournament that's coming up. So I can't hold that against them. Daytona Beach filled up. Obviously, Daytona Beach was already filled up for the NASCAR one. And then I was offered Steven Seiler for the tournament in Washington, D.C., the fight, the PFL fight for that fight. I was offered Steven Seiler. I called my camp, and, some miscommunications happened with myself and the staff over at PFL, and then I got a phone call back basically saying, hey, Steven's off the table, you got to fight Lance Palmer. Due to one of my injuries that, it was there, it was healed, but it wasn't, it was healed enough for Steven Seiler, but my coaches didn't like the matchup between myself and Lance Palmer. So they said no, but we'll take Steven. And it just ended up that Steven and Lance ended up fighting. No big deal. It is what it is. I ended up being blessed enough by the staff, by Ray and Carlos and all those amazing. I mean, there's some amazing staff members over there. They flew me and my family out to D.C. I got to still be part with Kayla Harrison to go to the Children's Hospital, give back to the sick children there, and also get to go to Bethesda, Maryland, man. And that was to give back to the troops. As everybody knows, if anybody's ever followed my fighting career, I give everything to veterans. So I love giving back. And, Ray and Carlos gave me that opportunity to go back to these places. I actually went through Bethesda as a patient. So now being able to go back with PFL, kind of my last hurrah, I signed some autographs for the troops and stuff. It was really cool. It was a really good experience. I was very, very pleased to go there with them. So, it just sometimes in the fighting game, when they say, hey, you got one name, but now you got to go fight this other guy. And, I got to listen to my coaches. Me, I'll fight anybody. I've always said I'll even fight my own mother if that means a paycheck. But at the end of the day, if the coaches say no, I need who's going to be in my corner to be behind me. And if they're not behind me, I can't fight. So, it's kind of it is what it is kind of situation.
I just want to really quickly go back to Lance Palmer. Why, with your coaches not wanting you to fight Palmer, was that based off the fact that you had an injury that maybe would have been damaged a little bit more, or you would have been even more injured if maybe he took you down? Because like Steven Seiler and Palmer are different type of fighters. Palmer, of course, is a very good wrestler. Was it sort of based off that, or why exactly did they not want you to fight him?
It was one of my injuries that actually was fixed in February, back in February after the Madison Square Garden fight. It wasn't completely healed yet. I was on, it's like, say you have a cut. It's almost healed, but the scab was almost off, but the scab wasn't completely off. And we weren't worried about, the takedowns. We weren't worried about wrestlers. Obviously, look at me. I'm fighting Aaron Pico. It just wasn't, my bounce wasn't there. The Steven Seiler I think that fight would have been a lot more stand-up between him and we were a lot more comfortable in that area. I wasn't to my full ability yet for jiu-jitsu come for the DC card. So, yeah, being able to implement my game, and my coaches were real worried about that. So, not being able to implement my jiu-jitsu game, which is my strong point, obviously we don't want to go into a fight where you're kind of one arm behind your back.
Right. And how can you put into words how frustrating 2017 was? I know with them sidelining you, as you said, it sort of worked out because you were able to heal some lingering injuries, as you just talked about. But at the end of the day, you didn't fight, and you're a fighter. You want to fight. How frustrating was last year for you?
It was frustrating, man. I wanted on every damn corner. I was trying to fight overseas. I know, I was trying to fight anywhere, and I was really hoping that PFL would have some more events. Unfortunately, with their switch of ownership and during a tournament, they only had the 3 events. There wasn't really any events going on, and then being there, not fighting, I don't get a paycheck. My only paychecks, are teaching a couple classes of privates, but that doesn't really put a roof over my head. So, I had to rely real heavily on my fiance to, pick up the weight of, everything and be able to take over, paying the mortgage, paying the car payments, stuff like that. But I was able, so yeah, that's the negative. But the positive side, I think this last year, being able to gear a lot of my life towards my fiance and I actually asked her to marry me at the inaugural ball when the president was sworn in. So that was really cool. I got to travel. I got to give back a ton to veterans, and I got to continue my mission of always giving back. So there was negatives, but there was positives. I got to be a better dad in this last year, really connecting with my daughter. She just turned 4, so being able to connect with her in this pivotal part of her life, not being in training camps, was really I think it was good. But it was frustrating at the same time. Like you mentioned, I'm not getting punched in the face. I'm not punching other people and collecting paychecks. So it's really hard. But now, now with this, when I got this phone call right before Christmas to fight for Bellator on the main card there in LA, it was just, it was surreal. I was like, my manager kept asking me, he goes, Julian over at Upgrade Management kept asking me, hey, do you want to know who you're fighting? I was like, I don't care. I go, is there a paycheck? Is it over this dollar amount? He goes, yep. I go, sweet, I'm fighting him. He goes, you don't want to know the name? I go, you don't even have to tell me. Don't even send me tape. I don't care. And so, yeah, my manager was just laughing at me. So it is what it is.
Do you think the PFL tournament format will work out? Not necessarily for the fighters, like from their view, but more on the company. Do you think it'll end up being a success, or do you think maybe they should have stuck to the old normal MMA format?
The old MMA formats worked for years for dozens of organizations around the world. IFL tried the tournament format. Unfortunately, IFL didn't work. We'll see. I think, I got to sit in some really, really good little dinner talks and just sit back and be a fly on the wall. It was really cool hearing the ideas and how things are really coming, full circle for them. And to me, as being an MMA fan first prior to being a fighter, I think it's going to work. And I think it's really cool, and I wish him the best of luck.
So how did you get involved with Bellator? You said that after you were granted your release from PFL in the World Series of Fighting, it only took an hour or a few hours until you got the call. But how did that come together so quickly?
My manager, man. My manager's he's a beast. He's a straight savage. So literally, man, I called him. He was gnawing at me to ask for my release sooner. ACB was interested in me about 3 or 4 weeks prior to Bellator. They were asking for me to come over to Russia and fight, or Ireland, one of their cards over in the overseas. So, and I told him, no, I'm one, being a veteran, I'm very loyal, and whether you're giving me something, like, I'm very loyal to you. So he understood that, and I told him, no, just tell ACB no. Then he said the dollar amount ACB was offered, and to say no to that killed me. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, ugh. But at the end of the day, I was staying loyal. So my manager kept his ear to the ground, and he had another fighter that was, that was kind of getting eyeballed for that Aaron Pico fight, and he goes, no, he goes, here, have Shane. And, they put the name in front of Aaron and his team over at Wildcard. And, Aaron's team said, yes, we'll take it. I was at Home Depot with my daughter getting Christmas decorations, and that's when the phone call came, and he goes, hey, you ready for a good Christmas? And I go, what's that? And that's when he told me, and I was like, what? Yes, absolutely, I'll take it. So, it was just I'm a big, firm believer, and I've always been a firm believer that everything happens for reasons in life, and, good things happen to good people that always keep being good. And, 12 years in this game, and I've never given up. I've fought all over the regional circuit, numerous different organizations, fought in a few different countries for their regional stuff. And, everybody always said, everybody by this time has given up. If you get 9-10 years in, man, you better be in the big show. And I just kept nose of the grindstone, kept pushing, and here I am.
Quite the early Christmas present.
I tell you what, I broke the cardinal rule of fighters. When you get a fight signed, don't start spending money, and I did. I had no problem. I promised my daughter a good Christmas before that, man, and I called my fiance and I said, hey, guess what? And she goes, what? And I go, I'll be home in a little bit. And she goes, okay. And I ran in the house and I told her, and she started crying in joy for me. So my manager said, just call me tomorrow when you calm down, and got on the scale, and my manager goes, what are you at on the scale? I go, I haven't even checked my weight in a month. So I got on the scale, and we knew what we had to do, called my team. My team was ready for Liz Carmouche to fight at Fresno at the time for UFC. And everybody was, down, and we knew a game plan right off the gate.
I'm wondering, can you say how much you weighed when you stepped on the scale? I gotta ask.
California wouldn't be happy. Yeah, California wouldn't be happy. No, I don't care. I weighed 193 when I stepped on the scale.
Wow.
Yeah.
How tough was it? Was it tough getting down? I would imagine. How much about do you weigh right now? 160?
No, I'm 156 right now.
Okay.
Waking up, I'm fully hydrated. I'm still eating food during the day. The weight isn't an issue. So, I'm a big craft beer lover, and so you drink. I cut out craft beer. I literally cut out craft beer. I was eating steaks every day. I do plant-based diet when I'm losing my weight. I lost 30 pounds in less than 3 weeks.
Wow.
It just literally it was like 25-ish. Right. Sure. But it literally, when you switch to plant-based and quit drinking and quit eating carbs, which I do, it literally just falls right off. I mean, I've been walking at 10 pounds out for the last week plus. So 2 weeks out, my coaches said, hey, with 2 weeks out, you have to be 10 pounds or less. And I've been 10 pounds or less. And this is easy, and I'm fully hydrated. Today I've already had 2 gallons of water. So drinking 2 gallons of water and still being 156, being 145 is nothing. In the California rules, you had to be, I don't even know the thing, but I made the weight, no problem. I think it was 160 with 1 pound allowance at 30 days out, and I made that, so it wasn't a problem.
The thing is, when people are listening to this, they'll probably hear that 195-ish number and think you're crazy and not believe it. But the thing is, we have to remember that you didn't fight for a year, and when you like beer, that's what's going to happen.
I compete professionally in jiu-jitsu at 170. So when I do fight to wins and I do, big grappling matches, IBJJF Worlds and, all these Gracie Nationals, I compete at 170 and 175. So I don't compete at 145. 145 is only fighting. But when I do jiu-jitsu, I'm a big boy in jiu-jitsu. I'm normally 6'1". I have a big frame. We were actually planning on bumping up to 155 prior to the call for Aaron Pico. So we've been putting on, my coaches, I've been in the gym, and that's why over 190, we've been putting on muscle mass, and really packing it on because we were hoping to be at 155, but the Aaron Pico with the name and the dollar amount, you can't turn down a 145 fight. You're going to lose that extra weight.
After the Pico fight, win or lose, will you move up?
I'll sit down with my team and reevaluate afterwards.
Okay. Do you have a multi-fight deal with Bellator, or is it just the one fight and sort of see how that goes?
It's a 3-fight conditional, so yeah, obviously you walk out and you put on a show, win or lose. If you do good, I got 3 fights. If I walk out and I look like a shit show that should belong in a cage, obviously, which the last guy Aaron Pico fought looked like that, so. No, I'm not going to look like that. I'm going to put a hurt in. I'm going to show them how veterans do things, and I got a 3-fight deal that I signed. So.
Okay. What are your thoughts on the hype of Aaron Pico? The guy obviously had the credentials as far as wrestling and all that goes, but he's only won one in MMA. He made his debut Bellator NYC June of last year. He hasn't been in the game for a while, and you have. What are your thoughts on, though? People are calling him maybe the biggest prospect in MMA ever, and do you think that's deserved?
Yeah, I think hype is about as useful as a dirty pair of underwear. Because they're only good as you are after you wash them and you put them on. You know what I mean? So basically, to me, hype is a joke. Just like, the guy he fought at NYC said, he goes, you can take the hype train and derail it easy, and look what he did. Zach was brought a fight to him, and, I do the same thing, in my gym at San Diego Combat Academy, 10th Planet San Diego, we are always told, like, don't believe any hype of any fighter. And that's the thing is, some of the baddest mofos in the world, get shut out real fast. So I give it to Aaron. Aaron does have accolades in boxing, does have accolades in wrestling, but this isn't a boxing fight. This isn't a wrestling fight. Boxing, you hold your hands a lot lower. You're able to get away with a lot more. Wrestling, you're not worried about elbows. I mean, you're going up against guys now, especially like me, and you can watch any of my fights. I throw a lot of elbows. I throw knees. I get dirty. I like to grind. I love to grind. And I have a really good jiu-jitsu game. 9 of my finishes are from jiu-jitsu. So, I think to pick me, I think was a wrong idea. But, hey, at the end of the day, it's a fight. Anything can happen. I can't take anything away from what Aaron's ever done in wrestling. I can't take anything away from him in that or boxing. I have a lot of respect for him. And I've actually known him. I've been a fan of his, which is really creepy. But I've been a fan of his prior to getting the fight with him. Now I'm not a fan until after the fight, but side note, right? But no, I've been a fan of his. I'm a big USA wrestling team fan, and I've watched this kid for years. My first pro fight, he was in 5th grade. So it's kind of crazy to look back and think about it like that. But at the end of the day, I'm thinking, it is what it is. If he's going to get hype, that's on him, if it gets in his head. But me as an opponent, you're not going to get in my head with any sort of hype.
Do you feel a lack of pressure just because Aaron Pico sort of has the name already, even though he's only 1-1? He has the backing, and people are high on him, and there's probably a lot more pressure on him than you. Is that accurate?
Oh, 100%, man. It's so funny. You're only my Bloody Elbow, and you, Nick, you guys are only my 4th interview. Which is really funny. Madison Square Garden, I did probably like 60-plus interviews in the matter of a couple of weeks, oh, wow. And it made it hard to do camp, you know what I mean? You guys are my 4th interview, and I have the same guy, the guy who fought Aaron in the first fight at Madison Square Garden. He got 2 interviews. And kind of side note to him, if you ever watch it was Ariel Helwani and one other guy. Those are the only 2 guys that ever talked to him. And I'm the same way. It's like, hey, guess what? After I dehype this train pretty good, you know who the 4 people I'm going to talk to? You guys are one of them. Everybody else, have fun. Yeah, yeah. But it's like, get in line. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. I don't have. Hey, I don't have to perform full like you do. Me, I'm coming out. I'm being me. I'm being the War Rhino. I've always been the War Rhino. This ain't the first time I've been an underdog. This ain't going to be the last time. And, it's just another day in the office.
This feels kind of like the Zach Freeman fight all over again. I mean, everybody is expecting Pico to win. You're the underdog, of course. But you have experience. You, I believe, have a pro record of 9-3. You've been in the game for a number of years. And
12-3.
12-3. I mean, sorry about that.
Yeah,
but
12-3 official record. Yeah.
Nonetheless, a veteran, you've been around for years. And how much do you look at the Freeman fight and see how quickly he got the win and how he had his way with Pico? How much have you looked at that fight leading up to this one?
I was actually supposed to be at that fight, and I ended up watching it on TV, and it was amazing. I look at Zach and I'm like, what? There's me. Like, Zach is me. The don't give a crap attitude, because I don't give a crap, but he's willing to take a fight to somebody. I'm willing to take a fight to somebody, and he doesn't let the hype get in his head, just like me. I'm not letting any of this get in my head. And I've watched the fight a few times, and it's kind of funny because his style is identical to mine. He's a jiu-jitsu guy that has, good striking, and that's, but he's not scared to come forward. I'm taller than Zach. Obviously, I'm not a 155er like Zach is, but I'm taller than him. And if you watch that fight, Aaron had a lot of problems punching upwards. And I'm even taller, so let's have fun with that, and Zach didn't throw any kicks. I don't have good night tattooed on my foot for a reason. It's not just tattooed there because it looks good. We'll see. It is what it is. At the end of the day, I look at that and I'm like, hey, look, Zach made this look good, but I'm gonna make this a polished throne. Like I have nothing to lose, everything to gain. At the end of the day, and that's the best kind of fight to be in. He has everything to lose, and you got to say, because I'm brand new to Bellator, technically he would have nothing to lose. Or he has everything to gain, and nothing really to gain. Everything to lose and nothing to gain. Whereas I'm the opposite way. I have everything to gain and everything to lose, because if I lose in an embarrassing manner, I'm out of a contract. If I win, okay, I beat a one-on-one guy. So it's like, how do you look at it,
It's interesting, and that's actually a good point. You can look at it different ways. I'm going to give sort of my opinion and see what you think. I think if you go out there and lose, and I'm not necessarily saying that's the case, but if that happens, anything can happen in MMA. If that is the case, I think Bellator might give you another chance, because they can sort of make that argument that, hey, losing to Aaron Pico is no big deal. It's not a bad loss on your record. Do you see that?
I would completely agree with that. I would completely agree with that, as long as the fight's fair. As long as you make a fight. The guy that Aaron just knocked out, I don't even know his name. The guy, he was like, 6-3 or something like that, from RFA or whatever, that they brought over. That guy looks scared. If you watch that fight, when he got knocked out at like 3:30 something in the first round, the guy, he was scared the entire fight. He was timid. He never came forward towards Aaron. He was deathly afraid of Aaron. He had way too much respect. Like me, man, we get in the cage. The only guy I've ever had respect for, and I kind of regret it, was the guy I just fought at Madison Square Garden a year ago, Jeremy Mahone. We had way too much respect for each other. Like, I wouldn't even scrap with him. We scrapped a little bit, but that was it. That's not there for the Aaron thing. So as long as, and I get it. Like, as long as I go out and I show who I am, and Bellator sees, hey, this guy, number one, puts butts in seats, which I already have. Tons of people buying seats. I have a heck of a fan base. I have great backing. I have one hell of a story backing me. And Bellator loves that kind of stuff. MMA loves backstories. And I think you're right. As long as I go out and I do well, win or lose, God forbid I lose. It's MMA, like you said. Yeah, I think it's very possible, especially already signing a 3-fight deal. I think it's very possible that I could get a third fight or a second fight.
Okay, and a couple more questions before I let you go. Maybe this is an obvious statement, but you get the job done against Pico. That's huge for your career. Even though he's 1-1, just because of who he is, the name, his backing, that's a big win. What would come next, do you think?
I'm calling it now. Second round, I'm going to Darce choke him. I'm putting him unconscious. So when he's staring up at me, it is. We'll see, and I think that should propel me right into the mix of the top featherweights of Bellator. I don't see how that would not. This guy, Pico. I think in a year. I think he's going to be a murderer in a year once he gets some actual experience under him. I'm up to my old games, playing mind tricks and goofing around. Bellator posted a video yesterday of Pico trying to throw back elbows against the bag at Wildcard with Freddie Roach watching. And I just I replied to the Instagram story of the little emoji where he's rubbing his chin like thinking. And then the laughing faces with tears coming out. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. But no, I think this, once I get the win, it's gonna propulse my career. The fight's paying for my wedding, so hey, I'll have Bellator pay for my kitchen too while I'm at it with my next fight after I win that one too. So it's all good. It is what it is, and I'm all about just making sure that the veterans are taken care of. With my fight purses, and my sponsors take care of all my life choices and my traveling. So I think once I beat Pico, I'm gonna go down to Costa Rica and hang out for a couple weeks.
Now, you mentioned that you've only given one opponent in your MMA career, respect, and that was your last outing, December 31st, 2016. As an underdog, we sometimes see fighters go with their, plus money on the betting lines and give their opponents too much respect, as you talked about, including Aaron Pico's last opponent. And how key is it in this fight not to do that? You don't want to go and get crazy, but you don't want to stand back, as you said, be timid. How key is that not to do that, against Pico?
It's 100% key. If I let him get in his game, which is that stalking style of boxing and wrestling, obviously I'm going to get knocked the heck out. That's a given. Like, let's be real. If I let him start stalking, if I let him start implementing his game, he wins automatically, whether it be mental game, whether it be physical game. At the end of the day, MMA is a giant chess game, and, the second you knock off your pawns, which is the timidness, and you can start letting them getting taken out, you're screwed. All your bishops, everything is done for. So, it is what it is. At the end of the day, I need to walk in there, not show the respect I did to Jeremy. If you watch that fight, people are like, can somebody please show Kruchten how... It was the best comment ever was on YouTube. Can somebody please show Kruchten how to throw a punch? I don't think I threw one single standing punch in the second or third round. Why? Because I was so respectful of him. I was like, screw him, I'll just take him down and beat him up, and with some elbows. And it's crazy that I was that respectful. I watched back at that fight, and then I watched other fights, and I'm throwing bombs, and then all of a sudden I'm watching this fight. So I need to walk out there and show Aaron, hey, guess what? I talked to Sadawa. He said, he goes, man, just go out there and play your game. Show them how veterans do it, And, that's exactly what I need to do. I just need to go out there, do my thing, and not be, like you said, show respect, but not too much, and I do have respect for him, and I'll show him respect before the fight and after the fight. But once that cage door closes, we're there to get a paycheck, and sorry, bud, my paycheck's going to be bigger because I'm getting that win purse.
Awesome. Well, Shane, I usually end pre-fight interviews with a prediction, but you jumped the gun. You already gave it. Second round, Darce, take it to the bank. Shane, thank you very much for the time. I really do appreciate it. Just a week or so out from the fight against Aaron Pico in Los Angeles, January 20th, Bellator 192. And interestingly, this is the first Bellator card on the Paramount Network. You're on the main card. Obviously, a huge opportunity. Before I let you go, remind my audience where they can find you on social media, and if there's anybody you'd like to thank or give a shout out to, the floor is yours.
Absolutely. War_Rhino on Instagram. If you just find me on there, that's pretty much my whole life. Everything's all on there. War_Rhino Instagram. And then if you're a veteran, reach out to me. If there's ever anything in distress and you need help with anything, I'll do the best of my power to either help you myself or get you the help you need. And remember, 22 a day is way too many. So other than that, I just want to thank Smart Shop Storage, the Help You Save Insurance, Clinch Gear for always having my back, 10th Planet San Diego, the Freaks, and Boogeyman Martinez, the Freak Brothers, man. These guys got me ready like no other. I got a list of other people, but, those are the top ones. And, just like I said, 22 a day killing themselves, the veterans, like reach out. There's always somebody here to listen.